Good morning. Good morning. It's great to have everybody here. Thanks so much for coming out on this President's Day weekend. So the past couple weeks, we have been working our way through a sermon series on Paul's fruits of the Spirit. And Anna nailed them. It's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. And this all comes from the verse, of course, in Ephesians chapter 4. And so we've gone through all the different fruits, and today we've gotten to the fruit of gentleness. And I need to be really honest with everybody. When I saw that this was my theme today, I was not fired up to preach on it. Because if you ask me, this sounds like on the surface that it would be a really boring sermon. And maybe it still will be. I don't know. I hope not. But gentleness, gentleness, that's just kind of like, just kind of be soft and a little meek and mild and, don't make your coffee too strong and just kind of sit there and fall asleep, and that's gentleness. Okay. I wasn't that fired up about it, but actually what I found is that this is an incredible topic, and it has so much to do with my life and your life and all of our lives and where we are right now. And so today, I wasn't fired up to talk about gentleness, but now I am. So hopefully the sermon's not boring. We'll find out here as we go along. But let's buckle up because we're going to talk about gentleness. Okay, so there's this great story. I don't know if it's true or not. I kind of hope it is. But it's a story from history, and some of you know I love history. But the story goes like this. During the Revolutionary War, there was a unit, and one of their embankments that they had built up was crumbling. They had some stones and some logs, and they were supporting this so they could dig trenches to fight the war. And this young officer was just barking at his troops, trying to get them to fix this wall as it was collapsing. And he was saying, push harder, you gotta use your back, And this guy is just screaming at his troops while this wall is collapsing in on them. And so finally his superior officer comes over, and he was a big guy. He was like 6'3", broad-shouldered, really strong. And he says, what's the problem? He said, well, my guys, there's just not enough of us. We can't hold up this wall. It's falling down. And the general said, well, why aren't you helping them? There's only 3 of them. I think 4 people could get the job done. And he said, no. I am a gentleman. I'm an officer. Those are the grunts. I am a gentleman. I am gentle. I do not go in and help with that kind of stuff. It's above me. So the general kind of shook his head, walked over, heaved into it, and fixed it. And the general was George Washington, the commander of the entire army, soon to be the first president of the United States. He wasn't afraid to get in there and get dirty. And I don't know if that story's true, but I love that, because it says something really important about this topic. I kind of thought that gentleness was being a wuss, right? Gentleness was just kind of boring and milquetoast and bland. But actually, gentleness is something else. What gentleness is not, it's not weakness. Gentleness is actually coming from a place of strength. Think of weightlifters for a second. If you've ever been around somebody who actually knows what they're doing when they lift weights, it's actually amazing how gentle they are. There's a lot of finesse, right? There's a lot of sort of touch to it. They're smooth and controlled when they're pumping iron. If you put me under a weight bench, you'd see weakness. But if you know someone who knows how to lift weights, there's a strength there. Gentleness is having strength and using it in a way that's constructive and builds up. Gentleness is not weakness. Gentleness is strength. And so when Paul says in Ephesians that the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control, gentleness is a gift from God, where we have strength that comes from God, and we use it in a way that's constructive. And the way that is to build up. In the book of Ephesians, St. Paul writes this: use your words for building up, as there is need, so that your words may give grace to those who hear. Gentleness for the Apostle Paul is having strength and using it to build up. I think what we saw with the kids, and I love this idea, is that it is so much easier sometimes to tear things apart and to tear them down. I think we actually live in a tear-down world. It is so easy for us to make that snap judgment about somebody that tears them down. It is so easy to make that snide comment that tears somebody down. It is so easy to stay quiet to the detriment of another person. It is so easy to tear people down. It's harder to build somebody up. Last week, I really needed a sandwich. I was running some errands, and I went to a sandwich place. And actually, my sandwich did not look that good. That looks super good. But I went in at about noon, and it was the lunch rush, and the place was packed. And what was going on, there must have been somebody that was out for the day, because there was only 2 people working the sandwich line. There was the person at the cash register, and then there was the person actually making the sandwiches. The person at the cash register was doing their best to keep the line moving, but the girl who was actually making the sandwiches, you could just tell she was swamped. There was sandwich after sandwich after sandwich in line, and she was just trying so hard to keep it moving and to get people their lunch. And so I'm waiting there. It probably took about 15 minutes as I'm standing in line waiting to put my order in. And this guy came up with his young daughter. And he budged in front of everybody. And he had his sandwich that he had ordered. It was in the wrapper. And he budged in front of everybody. And then he shoved the sandwich in the face of the girl who was making them and said, "I asked for no pickles. What do you see on here?" And the girl said, I'm so sorry, we're just busy. And he said, "No, what do you see?" She said, I'm so sorry, sir, we'll get you another one. He says, "What do you see? I said no pickles." And this guy had a literal meltdown, no pun intended, in the sandwich shop over some pickles. And this girl, she was probably maybe late high school, early college. You could just tell he destroyed her. He tore her down. And I felt so bad, because here she was trying her hardest to make sure that everybody could get their sandwich, and she makes one mistake, and this guy just tears her a new one. He tore her down. He was strong, right? He was the customer, and the customer's always right, but he used his strength to tear her down. We live in a tear-down world. That stuff happens all the time. Last night, I saw the opposite of that. I was with a group of friends that I haven't seen in a really long time. It was my college friends. Some of them even go all the way back with me to junior high. And if you have a good group of old friends like I do, you know that there is nobody else in the entire world that would have the ability to tear you down more than your friends from a long time ago. Because they know every mistake you've made. They know all the skeletons in your closet. They know all the screw-ups, all the things that you messed up on. And if they wanted to, they could destroy you, right? But the great thing about being with old friends is that you all know everybody's warts and ugly parts, and you just don't care. You love each other unconditionally. And for me to be with my friends last night and to catch up and to talk about jobs and family and kids, it was the biggest buildup I've had in a long time. I left there feeling fantastic because it just felt so good to reconnect with my friends. That's what gentleness is. Gentleness is being with people who care about you, who love you, who have a relationship with you, and everything they do builds you up rather than tears you down. And I'm still feeling great this morning after being with my friends. That's what gentleness, according to Paul, feels like. That is the love that God has for us, God's gentleness in Jesus Christ, who knows us completely and yet still loves us and still says, "You are my child. You have been sealed with the cross of Christ, marked with the Holy Spirit forever." It's that baptism we just saw, right? It's God's love, God's gentleness, saying, "You are my child. I will love you no matter what." That's what it means to be built up. That's what it means to have someone who loves us and will treat us with gentleness. So going back to the sandwich shop, that poor girl had just been torn down, and I'm going through the line, and I get to be right to where I'm almost at the cash register, but there's this older woman in front of me. She orders her sandwich, and she goes and she pays, and then she goes to the assembly line. And the girl is making her sandwich, and this lady, it was the weirdest thing, she reached out and grabbed the girl's arm. And the girl now is really flustered. She's like, what's going on? What's going on? And the woman grabbed her hand, and she looked her in the eyes and said, "I am so sorry that happened to you. You are doing an incredible job." And in that instant, the girl working the sandwich counter changed. You could just feel it. Those simple words and that simple act of reaching out, that gentle act of affirming her in her job, that built her up. And that's all it took. And I'm pretty sure the rest of that day, that girl was probably whistling as she worked. It was incredible. And so that's the call that we hear from God. A God who is gentle with us calls us to be gentle with other people. And so my prayer for all of us as we have these words of Paul, these fruits of the Spirit, my prayer for all of us is that we live into that call of being gentle, of using our words and our abilities and the power that we have to build up rather than to destroy, to make friends rather than enemies, to show love rather than hate, and to show God's grace in the face of everything. Amen.